Hey everybody, Jesse here. I just wanted to let you know before this episode starts that The Knife Shift is officially available on Spotify, iTunes, and Deezer. Don't worry, you can still find us on YouTube. Our first 2 episodes are live now, and new episodes will be rolling out starting at the beginning of the month. Thank you guys for supporting. If you like what you guys hear, let us know. Follow us, like us, depending on what platform you're listening, and let us know that you guys want us to do more. We like doing this, and we like it even more when you guys like that we do this. Thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the episode. All right.
So if we want to try and do the clap thing to get it synced up, or are you just not even worried about it?
Sure.
All
3,
right.
2, 1. Okay, that might help actually.
Because you're going to see the huge spike in it, and that's going to help out a lot, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, that was another trick that I just learned from watching one of the other podcasts, like, get their stuff around, and just like it had like a little behind the scenes of how they started off. And I still think the best thing you can do for stuff like this is just get into a casual conversation before we really start it, because that's, we got to dust the cobwebs off, because how friggin' long has it been since we actually sat down in this room?
It's been a long time.
It's been like 3 months.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We're not gonna lie, you guys. It's been rough out there. We haven't been in a while, but we always find our way back.
We have to, because we don't have a choice. We've actually been locked in this room the entire time. If you guys could send help, that would really be appreciated, because we don't know where the door is. There was a door when we came into this podcast, and now there isn't. We've spent the last 2 months trying to figure out what in this room is edible, and trying not to fantasize about cooking each other, but I don't have any pots and pans, so this is going to have to be like sushi style.
I took a second bite out of Sam Sucker from Trick or Treat.
It did not taste good.
It doesn't taste good. So how have you been, Jonas?
Oh, I've been surviving, barely, like all of us out there, and we just, trying to find the silver linings out there. Just not ruminating on all the BS that is in the news, because it'll drive you crazy. And not in like the fun Norman Bates kind of crazy, but just crazy. I mean, just take 2 seconds to look at Twitter, or don't. I mean, just don't look at Twitter, because it's just a train wreck. I'm just thinking about some of the movies that I've watched recently, and how I can't get you to watch Frankenhooker.
No, you can't. Yeah, not so far anyway. I hope that
one day I will convert you to the cult of Hen and Lauder.
That's a dark future you're making me envision right now.
It's better than the Dark Phoenix.
You know what? I don't want to get myself beat up on the internet.
Just take the L on that one.
I'm not talking. Look, there are movies that I see, and I know that everyone else is gonna hate it, but for some reason I don't. And I don't know if there can ever be an X-Men movie that I just hate.
No, I can see that. No, there's movies from certain people, either actors or directors, that get critically panned, but I still like them. I mean, we were just talking about Hen and Lauder. Do you think almost any of his movies got critical praise? No. I think Siskel and Ebert walked out of one of them. Like, they wouldn't even review it. I think it might have been Brain Damage. Yeah. But, it's one of those things where taste varies, or lack of taste, and whatever you want to call it. I call it just having fun. So if you have fun with a movie, this is the thing. Opinions can't be wrong. Even though sometimes we want them to be. We really want to say, your opinion is wrong. You shouldn't have that opinion. But it's just an opinion. If you don't like it, form your own. Move on, or argue against it.
If somebody says that the series Hannibal is awful, they are wrong.
Well, then they're rude. And you know what that means.
Uh-oh, we gotta eat them. I just want to say a couple things. One horror related and one not.
Oh, please, go ahead.
I'm going to start with the one that's not. My day has been a roller coaster. So a lot of you out there know what Pokemon Go is. Most of you probably haven't played it since it first came out like years ago, but I still play it. And there's something called Pokemon Go Fest, which is basically a celebration of the game during the summer where everyone can go out and find a bunch of rare Pokemon and things they wouldn't normally be able to find in the game.
As long as we're all 6 feet apart.
Of course. And I planned on playing this game for quite a while. And it runs from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I was like, of course I'm not getting up super early or anything, but I'll get up and then I'll go play.
I wasn't going to tell you, but I actually passed you.
Did you?
On your way. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, what happened is I played a little bit in town before I was going to drive 20 minutes to the bigger town where we work and play there because there's more things to do there in the game. The bigger the location, the bigger the city, the more there is to do. So on my way out of town, I decided I'm going to stop at the gas station and get an energy drink because I hadn't eaten. I'm just going to go and have an energy drink and put off eating for a couple hours.
This is already a dangerous prospect, but go on.
Well, what happened was I got my NOS and got back to the car, and my car wouldn't start.
Oh, no.
My engine wouldn't start. So the person next to me helped me out. I asked him if he could help give me a jump, and he was super nice, and he did. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't turn it off until you get where you're going, which I'm aware. If your battery dies, you don't want to shut your car off anytime soon. You want to let it run. So, like I said, 20 minutes to where I was going, and I went there, got to the park, parked my car, waited hesitantly for a while before deciding, okay, I got a chance at sometimes, and I shut my car off, went and played some Pokemon Go, came back and it worked fine. And I'm like, okay, some sort of freak accident. I don't know how it happened, but it happened and it's over. Drove my car around a bit more, went to KFC, went and played some other places. Most of the time I played in the car because COVID and you know, I just stayed in the car because people aren't really socializing anyway.
Yeah.
So what's the point in walking around right now? But I got a little sunburnt, so I did go out a little bit.
I was gonna say, you look like you got some sun today.
But at this moment, I had spent most of the time in the car. I turned it off again at some point. Hours later, I don't know. The car would not start. I swear it. I turned it on, it started, and went and played more. Turned it off. Turned it on, it started, went and played more, turned it off. It was like an in and out thing, going to different locations. And like, I think it was the third time it didn't start again. I had to have our friend Devin try and help me out, and
he came over with some jumper cables or something? Or?
Yeah, he had his car and he had jumper cables. He was also playing Pokemon Go. And let's just say we're not the most mechanically inclined, and that was quite the...
Tell me you guys didn't make sparks.
No sparks, no explosions, nothing scary, but we were just probably for no reason paranoid that we would. And
well, you know, it's not wrong to be paranoid in that kind of a situation, but I'll tell you right now, I'm not exactly a car guy, but it's one of two things. It's either your battery's just about dead, which is going to be, I don't know, $80 for a new one that's decent. It's either that or your alternator. If your alternator's bad, then that's going to be a little bit more.
Well, what happened was, see, I'm nervous because right off the bat, Devin's like, we can just look it up on YouTube.
Oh, no.
And
no.
anytime someone's like, you can look it up on YouTube, and it's something like that, I'm like, oh, no. I knew the gist of it, but I wasn't sure which ones were supposed to connect to which, because they're color-coded, black and red.
Yeah.
And So I just Googled like which ones were positive and which ones were negative. But we had I don't want to get into it too far because, we're here to talk about horror, but we had like a slight disagreement on what was okay and not okay. He thought that the negative, the black, needed to be grounded, that couldn't also be plugged into the battery.
What?
Some things that we looked up said connect the positives, and on the running car connect both of them to the battery, but on the not running car don't connect the negative, just ground it.
I've always done it that you just connect both.
And Devin was like, it's gonna blow up if you do that. And I'm like, somebody helped me jumpstart this earlier today, and I watched them do it, and it didn't blow up.
No, yeah, every time I've either gotten a jump or I've jumped somebody else, we just connect both of them up. I just make sure that I connect the running car first that's got a good battery, and then you connect that when the other person's ready, and you just do it like in a timely fashion. Like, you don't just let it hang on there, but
well,
connect it all up. Yeah.
I messaged our other friend, and I'm like, I think we're gonna die. Devin's looking up how to do this on YouTube. And he came out, he's like, I'm on my way. He tried it. What happened was, I think what Devin did would have worked, but my battery was like dying throughout the day. It was getting worse, and it just didn't want to charge. Because it said, the thing that he looked up said to let it set for 2 minutes before trying to turn it on. And I think my battery was so far gone that wasn't enough time. Hartzell came over and did the same thing, and it didn't work the first time. And then we let it set longer, and then I tried it again, and it worked. And I'm like, that'll get me to AutoZone. So I went to AutoZone. The guys that worked there were really rude, and
yeah, I started going to across the street to O'Reilly's.
Yeah.
The last couple times I've been in there, they haven't been the best service.
Everyone's wearing masks because COVID, and I have to give them my email address because I clicked email for the receipt.
Okay.
So I'm telling him what it is and then also spelling it out, and I didn't do that for the last word, which is life. And he's like, did you say wife? And I was like, life, L-I-F-E. And he's like, yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, well, I can't see your mouth, so, everyone's wearing masks.
It's the best thing to just do everything phonetically right now, because, trying to, especially when we work with earplugs and trying to speak through masks, it's just the worst. Trying to just enunciate everything enough that somebody's going to understand you when you're just the whole day.
I don't know if they were mad because they just now started having to wear masks, and maybe that's what the deal was. But yeah, so you're saying $80. My battery was $140.
What the crap?
And then I had $10 shipping, so I dropped $150 on it. I had to get it. I paid it. They installed it for me.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's working.
That's
done.
Kind of a ripoff. I mean, maybe it's for your car.
That might be the thing.
When I had my Pontiac and I had to get my battery done for like pretty much the same thing. When I went to O'Reilly's, but I got a battery. I want to say mine was 80 or 90.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, and it's done. And
at least you got it done. Yeah.
Yeah. Just that whole thing. Part of me was like, of course, the day that I want to go out and do this is the day it's all happening. But then the other part of me was like, well, it would have been much worse if it happened on a work day.
Yeah.
So,
I would have just been waiting around like, where the hell's Jesse at?
It's all in how you look at it. That was the first thing. And then the second thing was I watched a new horror film last night. And it was called The Burning.
Okay. That's a new one to you, but
it's an old one.
It's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you've actually seen a movie I haven't seen. That's a classic. Go figure.
It was on Shudder, and I had heard of it, and I knew it was one of those movies. I'm like, well, I knocked out Sleepaway Camp, so I might as well knock this one out too. All these old camp slashers.
So, how was it?
I liked it. I mean, obviously there were nitpicks for me.
How prevalent were the garden shears that are like on the front cover?
That was like his main weapon.
Yeah?
He used it almost the whole time.
Okay, I want to see this more now.
That was pretty That was pretty good. I don't know how much I should talk about that movie. You haven't seen it.
Well, if you want to hit the broad strokes, you can do that. Just don't give away spoilerish ending kind of stuff or anything. We know people are going to die. It's a slasher.
Well, I'll say that I liked the setup, the characters, and I thought that it was done a little better than Sleepaway Camp as far as characters being flat. I thought
was gonna say, you could probably say that just about almost any other slasher movie out there.
Yeah, you think so?
Oh yeah.
It had George Costanza in it from Seinfeld, and he was young.
Jason Alexander.
Yeah,
really?
He was in it.
Wow.
And Leanna walked in and was like, I pointed out that was him, and she's like, "What?"
No, he was in a couple of horror movies as a younger actor. I can't think off the top of my head what the other one was that I saw him in recently too, but I'm like, it's Costanza.
Yeah. She's like, he was kind of attractive. I'm like, well,
it's weird how that works with some of the younger, some of the actors out there that we know as like older guys now. Yeah, you see some of the films and things where they were like in their late teens, early 20s. It's like, holy crap, this guy was attractive? What the? It's like time does weird things. Yeah, you know, when gravity gets a hold of you.
Can't wait for me.
Well, I'm turning 36 in a month, so yeah, I'm getting there.
It definitely suffered from that teleportation syndrome like the Friday the 13th films do on occasion.
Okay, so he's just almost everywhere.
Like, how is he? There's a part where they go on a 3-day canoe trip, and they're all in canoes on water, and it's like forest on the sides. And they even make it a point to be like, couldn't we walk back? And they're like, no, the forest is too thick. And I'm like, so then how is this guy keeping up with canoes on the water? And
he's got the shears. He just cuts his way through the forest.
And then there's a part, I don't want to give it away, but I can't really talk about it without giving it away.
Okay.
There's a location that he's in, waiting to get his victims, and it's like, okay, let's say you did know they were gonna come this way. Like what if they just didn't? And that's something that I always consider in horror films to determine whether or not it was a poorly written scene. Is like, so say the killer is waiting in that chest back there.
You have to actually go into that room.
Right. It's like, what if we just... He's like, yeah, they're going to come in here and they're going to open this and I'm going to pop out and kill them. But it's like, what if we just don't go into that room? The killer's just locked in a box the whole time and we have nothing to fear and we just leave and we get away.
Well, especially if it's a room without another entrance or exit that has nothing of significance in it and has no reason for you to go investigate that room. Like, okay, there's the classic setup, you know, there's a loud thump, and you have to go look into that room, and, oh, what was that? And you go into that room, and then you get murked. But if it was like, you just randomly get up, oh, man, it's been a long day, I'm just going to go up to the attic to go look for something that I suddenly thought of from my childhood for no good reason. Because I've seen that in a horror movie, too.
It's in between. It's definitely something that you wouldn't question that they would investigate. But at the same time, the vastness of, you know, they've been on a 3-day trip. There's all this area they've covered on the water and in the forest. What are the odds that they're going to take this beaten path or this path in order to come across you, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, what if Jason Voorhees hid in a little shack in the woods? It's kind of like that. Sure, you can see counselors being like, what's this shack, and investigating, but what if they don't come close enough to it?
Well, he did hide it. Well, he was living in that shack in the woods.
Yeah.
In the second one, and if it wouldn't have been for the cop that just stumbles across it, or no, he was chasing him through the woods and finds the shack. That's how it happened.
I guess it depends on the vindictiveness of the killer, because in The Burning, he's like out for revenge. He's set on killing these kids. You could argue, I mean, Jason Voorhees is like that too, but in some interpretations he's more like territorial, like you're here, so I'm gonna get you.
And Pennywise. If they just wouldn't have went anywhere near that sewer, it all would have been fine.
Well, he comes out of the sewer to kill kids. It's more like you'd have to avoid the town. As long as you leave Derry, you're good. Yeah, I think I liked it more than Sleepaway Camp for sure.
I'm definitely gonna have to check it out.
And it is one of those films where it shows you who the killer is. It's like Jason Voorhees type thing where you know it's Jason Voorhees. It's not like a whodunit.
Unless you look at the first Friday the 13th, which is like a classic kind of whodunit kind of formula.
I think I enjoy the whodunit more.
But could you really say that it is that with Friday the 13th Part 1? Because we don't even get introduced to
not
Mrs.
Part
Voorhees
1. Not Part 1.
Until, like, she's just basically admitting she's the killer. It's like 5 minutes from the first time you see her to, oh, she's the one.
I'll specify. I meant Friday the 13th as a series, not the standalone film.
Okay.
So like Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger, where you know going in it's going to be this. Like they show you what happens in the opening and you know who it is.
You know, other than like Scream and like I guess you could say Idle Hands for like the first almost half of the movie. There's not a lot of movies I can think of where it's a big mystery who the killer is. It's kind of like I know you're gonna say
Urban Legend.
I know you're gonna say it, but
I think that's why I like those more though. I like there being something to figure out in the movie, or like
I guess that's another one where we're split 50-50 because I really like just like either the deranged killer or the monster movies like Pumpkinhead. You can't beat it's the giant creature with huge claws that's killing everyone. It's pretty obvious to figure out.
Monster flicks are good, but I still think I prefer like Scream. I like trying to figure out who's the killer, what's going on.
Well, it's Ghostface. It's always Ghostface.
But it's also unique in that Ghostface is the only one that it changes who it is.
You know, they wanted to do that. Not exactly like change who like Michael Myers was in the Halloween series, but with Halloween 3, when that one came out, they really tried to just take it in a complete like left turn, like just go a whole different direction with the movie. But it didn't do well.
I think I haven't seen a lot of the Halloween films.
Right, you haven't even seen like the second or third one yet.
But I think that would have been a smarter move.
It could have been great, but yeah, they just didn't. It didn't take off, so they went right back to resurrecting Michael Myers for the fourth one.
Fans don't know what they want. Come on, studios, what are you doing?
Really, I mean, it's like you can't really be right with all the audience. You're always going to piss somebody off no matter what direction you choose to take a series.
You just have to know what you want and go for it.
Yeah. I appreciate more that a director will stick to their guns and just make a movie that they're proud of. Like last night, oh, you're going to hate this one, but last night I decided to watch a childhood favorite film. I went back into my vault and down a flight of stairs into the basement and cleared off some cobwebs, and I found my copy of Romeo and Juliet.
Oh no.
And I decided to watch that movie. And afterwards I tweeted at Lloyd Kaufman and James Gunn, hey, great job on this movie, guys. It still holds up. You know, it's a classic. Because I completely forgot that, yes, James Gunn wrote that movie along with a couple other ones like Slither. That,
I'm not a big James Gunn fan.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, I like Guardians of the Galaxy, but also he's kind of limited on how far out there he's allowed to go with Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's the thing, yeah. That's why I like some of his other projects where he gets to just go full tilt.
Right, and it's not like rated R movies. Marvel kind of is hey,
I don't know. After Deadpool's been hitting so hard lately, Disney would be foolish to not capitalize on that market going forward.
But also, you already established that these characters are suitable for kids, so then to make their movie R, and then kids that love the franchise go in it and can't.
That's tough one. Yeah. But I guess you would have to make it a Divergent series. Not, oh god, even using that word Divergent just makes me think of that horrible movie that we won't even bring up.
Who did?
But what were we thinking?
Who did the Brightburn? That was James Gunn, wasn't it?
I think so.
I just feel like he gets good ideas, but then doesn't take them anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think that's always his fault, though. I think
it is.
You think he just gives up on projects?
No, I just think that he thinks that's enough. He thinks this cool idea is enough, and I don't think it is. Like, we'll talk Brightburn first. It's, what if Superman didn't save humanity? What if he went dark? What if he went evil?
If you guys slept on Brightburn, watch that movie.
But that's all it is. Like, if you know the Superman lore, which I know pretty well, that's all it is. Like, the beats the movie hits are just beats from Superman. The ship.
If you want another take on that, there's the DC animated movie Red Sun came out not that long ago, and that's what if Superman had landed in Mother Russia instead of Kansas. Yeah. Which, it's a really good movie because they also have Soviet Batman, which I was not expecting. The only two people that are like pretty much themselves are Lex Luthor and Wonder Woman. But getting back to Brightburn, yeah, it's I think it's self-contained enough. They did set it up at the end, not to give any spoilers to anybody, but they did set it up at the end where it could have been a universe or series kind of thing, but I think it's okay to be a standalone for that one.
I don't think they ever intended it to legit be a dark universe. I think they were just kind of...
I think it was a nice little teaser thing to like just throw in there at the end for people that were like super excited at the end of it, because I love the ending, because I thought for sure they were going to go another direction, and then they actually went for it, and I'm like, wow, okay.
I didn't like the ending.
Yeah.
I think I wanted something more to happen. It's like I'm having a conversation with James Gunn, and he's like, okay, we got Superman, but he's bad. We're like, okay, that's cool. What are you going to do with it? And he's just kind of like, what do you mean? That's what he's bad. It's like, but where are you going to take it? And like, maybe it's a trailer thing. Maybe it's another situation where the trailers ruined it, because you knew going into this from the trailers that he was going to be bad, and the whole movie was just him turning bad, and then he gets there, and then that's it. And another one that he did that was, I felt...
You got what you paid for, though. It's like if you saw the preview for Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and then you went into the movie, and you're like, well, he just killed a bunch of people. Well, yeah, what did you expect? That's
I haven't
the movie.
seen that one. I can't really speak on that one. But I like a twist, or I like maybe a movie to go further than I thought it was going to go. I want to be surprised or kind of caught off guard by a movie.
I was surprised at the ending. I thought it went further than it was going to go.
I wasn't. I know that used to be a thing, right? Ending movies with happy endings all the time.
It's still a thing with a lot of movies that just kind of shoehorn in an unnecessary happy ending. And it's not always trite. It's not always wrong to do it. Some movies deserve a happy ending. Like Final Girls. Perfect example. That one had a happy ending, kind of.
That one was good.
That one was a great film that didn't get the love it deserved to, but it was a happy ending that made sense for the characters and the situation. Now, if you try to do the same thing with a movie like Terrifier, it just wouldn't work. You have to have Art the Clown win. Now, I know, spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen Terrifier, but the evil clown gets away with it, because there's a Terrifier 2 coming out.
Spoiler! I think that might be a generation gap thing, because I can see it being like, movies used to always end with happy endings. And then to counter that, people were like, oh, we're making our movies end with bad endings and throwing people off. And I think maybe you grew up with movies starting with the happy endings, and I grew up with movies always being the downer, nobody wins ending. And I think, because to me, an ending where it just, an ultra powerful villain or antagonist is kind of rising in power and either killing people or whatever, and then to just end it with, well, yeah, he kills them. To me, that's the cop-out ending.
See, now I would go back if I really wanted to argue this, which I won't, but I'll just say Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
I mean, if there was more of a downer ending in a popular movie in existence, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find it.
But that's also not the end of the series.
Right, but people had to wait like a full, 2 years or something in between those movies to finally get back into the story and finally see what happened to Han and everybody.
But what if Vader killed them all instead of defeating them?
Oh, man. If we really wanted to anger some fans, just like retcon that series and be like, actually, yeah, Darth Vader just killed them all.
I guess.
You know, I would be really interested to see what happened in that series. To say, what if the Empire had won?
Well, the Empire won, but yeah, like, what if they won?
Yeah, what if? Do you think Darth Vader would eventually have challenged the Emperor and taken over?
Yeah, that's what they do.
I kind of
right?
think, yeah. Eventually, all the underlings in Star Wars eventually start rising to the top somehow, except for Snoke.
That's like Sith nature. They overthrow their masters whenever they're able. So.
Yeah. How do we get on to Star Wars? I screwed that
those
one.
downer endings.
We're going into Star Wars territory. Come back.
Well, before we get off of the James Gunn thing, I just want to bring up the other example is Belko Experiment, which is another one of his movies that had a great concept. It's based on a dream he had where he had this... pretty much he dreamt the plot of the movie, that he was in this building and it got locked down and they had to kill each other if they were going to get out, and he made it into a movie. But it's like, oh, that's a cool idea you got right there. Where are you going to take it? And he's like, nothing. That's the movie. And I'm just like, but you have to, you got an idea to start with. You have to take it somewhere.
So you liked Mayhem more since that had more of a plot?
I liked Mayhem a lot more, yeah.
So, you know, that's the only one of the two that I've seen.
And
I do like Mayhem.
It's pretty much the idea of Mayhem, only take out the supernatural stuff and it's just normal people.
Okay.
But yeah, no, with less catharsis to it, more just random savage people murdering each other. And like, it's interesting to analyze how people act in situations like that. It's a character movie, right?
Yeah.
Or I feel like it should be a character movie, and maybe that's my problem, is I want a character movie where you're watching how people should act in this situation, and they just kind of kill each other, and then it's over, and then it's like...
There've been a few good movies like that where you're pretty sure how your favorite character, the one you identify with, is gonna end up being in the movie, and how they're gonna react to the killer, or being like on the receiving end of something like that, and then you're like, oh crap, I chose the wrong person. This person is horrible, and I never saw that coming, and it'll kind of tinge your attitude towards the movie during the first watch, but if you go back and watch it again, you're like, okay, now I know this guy's an a-hole, so I'm not going to identify with him, and then you can have a different viewing experience.
You try and lie to yourself, like, oh no, I'm not that guy.
I don't like this person in the movie at all that has some of the same views as I do and ended up being an a-hole.
But maybe part of it's the brutality too, because I'm trying to figure out why I do like things and why I don't like things. And we've talked about Terrifier, and you love it and I hate it.
Yeah. And
that's a brutal movie. And I'm questioning what makes me feel the way I feel. Is it genuine, or is there a real reason for it, or like a logic there, or is it just taste? Because
I think disgust is a healthy emotion to have for some movies. Everyone needs to have a line. And if things cross that line, it's okay to dislike them. I don't get behind this movement that, like, every film is precious. There's some films that are just crap. And we can say that. There are some films that are good crap, that are just kind of like junk food for the eyes, you know, that you can just put on in the background while you're doing other things, and you don't really have to follow along with the plot. But there's movies that are challenging, that are hard to watch on purpose. And I think Terrifier might be one of those movies. I'm only going to defend it because I like that it took some chances and did things differently. Like the scene, I'm going to do it, since we spoil it a little bit, I'm going to do a little bit more of a spoiler. There's a scene where a girl is fighting back against Art the Clown, and she's winning. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like she's going to be the one to get away, or maybe even kill this clown bastard. And then Art just pulls a gun out of nowhere and shoots her. And it's such a jaw-dropping moment the first time you see it. You're like, what the hell just happened?
I think the reason Belko Experiment, by definition, falls into that category. It's very brutal and violent, and it could just be hard for me to watch. To an extent, I still think that things need to end and whatever. But that's where I give Terrifier more credit than something like Belko Experiment, where Terrifier subverts expectations, and whether you like it or not, there's something to be said for a movie that can do something like that and throw you off. That's a twist. That's what I even said earlier. I like being surprised.
Yeah, you got to throw some surprises in there once in a while.
But that's a movie that I credit not being bad because it's a bad film, just being bad for me. I don't think Terrifier is a bad film.
Getting back to our original point, the whole opinion thing. Everyone can have opinions on things.
But that's something that, like that scene, would enrage me because you want the good guy to win, or some of us do. So that scene's going to enrage people. I'm
completely neutral. When I go into a movie, I don't want either side to win. I just want to see what happens. I'm a casual observer. Do I feel for the people in the movie? Sometimes. If it's a well-written character, rounded the right way. But if it's like some ditzy teenager that's more on their phone than in reality, and they're just basically like, easy pickings for some of these killers out there, I don't exactly identify with them. I'm not saying I identify with the killer, but I am saying I'd probably side with him over, the ditzy, millennial 20-something that's completely vapid and has no personality.
I just want to elaborate, though, that... Hold on, I lost my thought. I'll cut that out.
It's all right.
Or I'll keep it in, whatever. I recognize that feeling of anger is intentional. He pulls a gun and shoots the main character, or who you think is the main character at that point.
Right.
And that makes me angry. I'm not gonna like the film because I'm angry, but I also
had a visceral reaction to
right.
it.
I also recognize that was the intended emotion for that scene, and by making me feel the way that the director intended to make people feel, he's achieving what he's supposed to in filmmaking. So I get that, but also I'm still mad. So
no, and that's completely valid. And that's the crazy thing to think. It's like it really accomplished its goal, and by accomplishing its goal, it's made you hate that movie.
But then you look at Belko Experiment, and it's like people are going to murder each other, and you're like, okay, well, they're just doing what I thought they were going to do, and it's horrible. And then it seems like it doesn't. So whereas I can be mad at Terrifier, but also like kudos, this one, it's like I'm mad at them, but also you didn't do anything special.
What about, would it be the same thing for something like Natural Born Killers?
I'm not a big fan of Natural Born Killers. I do think there's a lot of philosophical questioning in that movie that is interesting.
Oliver Stone made it as a parody.
Yeah.
Like, it was never supposed to be taken seriously. He made the whole thing as an indictment on our media.
I mean, he should have been clearer on that, because there's going to be some people that are like, hey, I want to be a serial killer.
Me as a teenager, I loved that movie for all the wrong reasons. And then as I grew up, now I appreciate the film for its intended reasons. And it's so weird that it can be so many things for so many people, but that's kind of the medium. Like, you could have somebody that watches Scream and thinks that it's just like a teen slasher movie and there's nothing below the surface. And then there's somebody like you that's like analyzed it to death and sees like kind of the hidden meanings in it and all the little meta commentaries that are in that movie.
It's really funny. You were saying earlier, what was your opinion about movies? And you said something about you don't believe that all movies are good depending on who watches them. Some movies are just crap.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cut and dry with some movies that it's just universally renowned. Like if you ask somebody if Baby Geniuses is a good movie, they're gonna say no.
But I think it's funny because I genuinely believe that there's something good to be found in every film, more or less.
Oh, if I got a film for you.
Like the opposite. No, I'm not saying, obviously there's movies I don't like. I'm not saying that I'm going to find something in every movie or that...
So you think there's like a penny on the ground in every movie? There's like some kind of a silver lining.
Yeah.
Like one millionth of a percent of a scene that might be good.
Even you were talking about... Well, we were talking about how Dark Phoenix was panned.
Yeah.
And most people hated it. But you're going to tell me there's nothing salvageable from that movie? There's
that movie could have been great.
Like, there's some cool fan kind of like fighting scenes with Cyclops in there, young Cyclops, and like
it was just the plot itself, the character decisions that made no sense. There was a lot of problems with the film, but the film itself wasn't like really the problem. The problem was they tried in vain to use one of the best character story arcs and jam it into like a 2-hour movie when they should have.
Again?
Yeah, again. They tried it again and it didn't work the first time. Like, what if they would have brought out the first X-Men and it flopped? Where would we be today?
No superhero movies?
No superhero movies at all. Maybe they would have rolled the dice on Spider-Man.
Yeah, maybe Sam Raimi still would have got that out, but I don't know.
But if we would have made Dark Phoenix first...
My point...
Like none of like the hellscape of the media we would be in now with no Marvel movies at all.
My point being, though, is even a movie like that most people agree is bad, there's things to enjoy in it. Not everyone would agree. Some people, no, it's complete trash. But if you're being realistic and looking at it, there's going to be things to find in it that are...
They're not organizing watch parties like for Troll 2 for Dark Phoenix.
It's funny you mention that, though. I want to bring that up because I think I used to think like you. And the movies that changed my mind are Troll 2 and The Room and movies like that, where they're at the bottom of the barrel bad. And I can still enjoy them more than I enjoy...
That's good bad.
Right. But that's good bad, whatever you want to call it. That's a good example of what someone... at one point might have argued
I gotta shout out to Cecil Trachtenberg for good bad flicks.
No, but you know what I'm saying. We're talking, can there be something salvageable in everything by us as a whole? Not you and I, but...
And there's bad. Like, there are bad movies out there that are just...
But are there?
Physically and mentally taxing to sit through the entire movie.
For you, but for everyone?
No, because I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be that guy. But if you'll forgive me for a second, I'm going to be that guy. Some people are fucking idiots.
Whoa.
And I'm sorry, it is true. You meet them every day. Some people will actually sit through like the Cat in the Hat. The Mike Myers horrible Cat in the Hat movie.
But even then, you know, kids enjoy it. They don't critique things.
Most kids are even like, what the f*** are we watching? Like, can we watch the animated one now?
But yeah, we're not going to be able to answer that question. It's fun to
it's a weird
think
thought
about.
Experiment to what movie, like, if you're listening to this podcast, hopefully, if you're listening to this right now, do a little experiment for us. We want you to go to a video store, if they still exist, go to a video store and rent a random just bad movie or movie off the shelf that you have no idea what it is. If you can find a movie that you've just never even heard of, it could be a B horror movie that went direct to DVD or something, just go rent it and sit through the entire thing no matter what.
Have you done this?
I have. With very mixed to middling results. Sometimes I find a new favorite, Final Girls. Had no idea what it was.
Just picked off
just picked it off the shelf.
That's cool.
I rented it once, and then I went back the next time, and it was for sale, and I bought it. And I've still got that copy.
Nice.
But yeah, you never know, just from picking up a movie cold, having no idea what it is, you could end up with a new favorite, you could end up with a bad movie. Or you could end up with a good bad movie.
I don't have time for that.
You got too much of a watch list to try and get through. I've seen it.
Yeah. So, was there anything else before we start talking about horror in TV?
I did watch I watched a classic as well. I'll just talk about it real quick, but I watched the classic movie Don't Look Now.
Oh, yeah.
This one's from the 70s. It has Donald Sutherland as a young man, which is really weird to see. But yes, Kiefer Sutherland's dad. And fitting with 70s movies, it has more than one sex scene between him and his wife. And they just go on for so like an uncomfortable amount of time in these sex scenes. But I won't concentrate on that too much. I want to concentrate on the whole plot of the movie is basically...
Well, I might be wrong, but that might be one of those films that...
like a bad movie? Or
No. That might be one of those films that people say they actually had... Oh, like, they actually had sex in that movie. That wasn't faked.
Maybe. I mean, I was watching it with my fiance, and he was getting physically uncomfortable at the amount of sex that was going on. Usually we can power through, but we're kind of looking at each other like 3 minutes into this scene, like, this is still going on. Like, and we're not haters. We don't care what kind of sex is on the camera. You know, we're just watching it. But yeah, it was just like it was definitely the 70s. I'll say that. But we got some butt shots that were just like, yeah.
Way too hairy.
A little bit. It was the 70s. I'll just say, grooming below the belt wasn't exactly standardized at this point.
I figured that's what you meant.
Okay, the plot of this movie is this husband and wife are living somewhere in rural America, and their young daughter is out playing somewhere, and they never show how it happens, but she drowns in, like, a pond. The dad just gets some weird premonition from, like, I think water or ink or something spilling on a slide from a projector. And he just runs out the door and just sees his daughter laying face down in this... Essentially, it looks like a big mud puddle. But he, like, runs over to her, and there's just this exaggerated, slow-motion, raw, kind of, like, emotional scene, like... just like going crazy that his daughter had died, of course. It just cuts to them months later, now in Italy, just somewhere else now, trying to cope with the loss of their daughter by just throwing themselves into their work.
Wait, can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So their daughter drowns, right?
Yeah.
They move to Italy.
Yeah.
Where they're surrounded in water.
Yes.
At all times.
Yes.
To get over it.
You see the complication going on here, yeah.
All right, continue.
But they basically just like try to go about their lives. They run into a couple of women at a restaurant early on in the movie, and one of the women is blind and tells his wife, "Oh, I can see your daughter. She's standing right next to you. She says that she's happy," and it just like starts going off the rails at this point. And the wife just buys into this hook, line, and sinker that this psychic blind woman can tell her about her dead child. And the husband is like, she's dead. Just let it go. She's dead. She's not coming back. She's not talking to you from beyond the grave. But at the same time he's saying this, he starts catching glimpses of a small person darting around in Venice that is like, looks exactly like their daughter.
Yeah.
And their daughter, when their daughter died, she was wearing this very bright red raincoat that was like really plasticky looking, and he sees just that little red raincoat just like running around. And he starts trying to chase after it, but he always loses it. Well, it's like one of the biggest payoffs of actually sitting through a movie to find out what that is. So I'm not going to be like, what culture, and make a video on this and like spoil the biggest twist ending of a horror movie. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If you're going to watch it, you're going to watch it. If not, then, be like some people and look up a Wikipedia entry for it. I prefer to actually sit through the movie.
Which Wikipedia reviews with Devin is coming.
Oh, I can't wait.
No.
That is going to be a train wreck of a... Oh, God.
Before we move on, I just want to say that I watched that What Culture video.
You did, didn't you?
Spoil
so
it.
You know what it is already.
They spoiled it.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. I didn't know what I was watching.
But the build-up, it makes it worth it at the end to see that final scene, and it's so vicious too. Even my fiance was saying like, wow, like that was a little bit more graphic than I thought it was going to be at the end there, because you're just throughout the whole movie almost like nothing happens. Like it's just so many long scenes of dialogue and just little petty things going on, and then just this explosion of violence at the end. So it was one of those movies that was just, it almost requires a repeat viewing to see if there was a lot more leading up to it that maybe would have hinted at what was going on, but I've got too many other movies to watch too. But speaking of, well, let's go on to series. So what were you thinking for this the TV stuff?
Well, I just wanted to talk about, we've talked about movies, and we haven't really talked about TV, and there's plenty of good horror TV series out there. So let's give them some credit, and let's talk about some of our favorites, maybe ones we don't like, ones we do like, whatever. Did you have anything off the top, or you want me to start?
Yeah, well, the first one, we'd be very remiss if we didn't talk about Creepshow for a minute. Because that is probably one of the, if not the best, one of the best new horror shows on television anywhere. And, I mean, I was a huge fan of the movies growing up. The first Creepshow movie is still a classic. It might be the best anthology movie ever made. And I will stick by that statement, because George Romero teaming up with Stephen King and having Greg Nicotero doing the effects. Was it Greg? No, it was Tom Savini. It was Tom Savini doing the effects on that one. I know, I'm all talking out of school over here.
And having Stephen King act in the movie.
There's something to be said for that. It's such an iconic role now, Jordy Verrill. But not to talk about the movie too much, we're talking about the TV show that just premiered.
Which one do you think is better?
Of the movies?
Not which one do you like better, which one do you think is better?
Of the between the movie and the series?
Yeah, from like a critic kind of perspective.
I would have to say if we're just going off of the first movie,
because nostalgia will always win. I want to know if you think they're which one better, the series or the first movie?
I still prefer the first movie.
Yeah? For
a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest one being the music for the first one, because I bought the Waxworks vinyl for that for the soundtrack of that, because it's just great. I love the way they did that. But man, it's like I don't want to sell the series short though, because it's so close to being on par with it, because they do such good things with the show.
But 9 times out of 10, you're gonna go with the 80s or was that a 90s film?
That was actually, I want to say it might have been late 70s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to say that was like 78.
9 times out of 10, I feel like you're gonna go with the older film.
And you'd mostly be right, but then you get to things like the Evil Dead remake, and that one's like tied with the original one in my mind. And I know that's blasphemy for some people to say that you liked a remake as much as you liked the original.
I think the original Evil Dead is pretty bad.
It's, they were working with to see, and it's probably an excuse to say like, oh, these guys they made this movie with bubble gum and scotch tape.
No,
like
I get it.
They just did this as like a passion project.
I get it. Perspective changes your appreciation for a movie. I can get that. Yeah, for sure. I watched the remake. We talked about this before.
Right.
I watched the remake first, then went back and watched the original, and then Evil Dead 2, and then Army of Darkness.
That's gotta be such a hard progression, because to watch it that way, you're just like you're going down the staircase instead of going up the staircase in quality kind of terms.
I like Evil Dead 2. I did not like Evil Dead, but I give it credit in the recording scene, because that was handled way better than it was in the remake.
Yeah.
But that's about the only thing I think was handled better in the original compared to the remake.
Evil Dead 2 is always going to be just about the best one.
It's Cabin in the Woods called it. Like, I'm drawing the line in the sand at the Latin. Like, do not read the Latin. So, yeah, that guy. Oh.
But, yeah, the Creepshow TV series, it just premiered last year. And it was, I want to say, 7 episodes? 6 or 7 episodes.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot, but...
But they did a lot with that amount. Like, you could tell it wasn't overproduced. Like, they let the people, like, make their own kind of stories. And that's where I thought the Greg Nicotero thing, because he was the one that did all the special effects for this show. I got that confused with the movie for some reason, but a lot of you guys know he's the guy that did The Walking Dead and a lot of other really popular horror movies going back into, like, the 80s and 90s. Like, he's had a long history of working on special effects. To have a guy with that kind of a track record come onto your show for a Shudder exclusive, I think, yeah, AMC is kind of killing it, no pun intended, with some of their original content right now. But, hey, little aside here, AMC, you guys own Shudder, and you also make the show The Terror. What's the deal with not putting The Terror on Shudder? You would think that would be a no-brainer, but you guys don't. So you're going to have to tell me if they ever do, because this is the off-season. I'm one of those horrible people that when Joe Bob isn't making new content, I don't subscribe to Shudder. I guess I know that's probably a controversial take too, but I know everybody's still live tweeting the shows and rewatching them. That's cool, but I'll come back when the show comes back in another month.
I mean, it's your money. You choose what you do with it.
Right, that's the marketplace. But getting back to the Creep Show.
Shudder's great though.
Yeah, no, it is. I do appreciate their content. I think Shudder did an amazing job just bringing back a cult icon, just for the new audiences and the diehard fans. I think getting horror royalty. I mean, Adrienne Barbeau, Tobin Bell, that was just a great start, and the episodes got just better from there. I mean, the werewolf episodes, the scarecrow episodes, there were so many great ones on there.
I love the scarecrow episode.
I know you did, because scarecrows are pretty much right up your alley with the kind of monster vibe that you have going on. You even did the scarecrow for Halloween that one year.
I don't know what it is with scarecrows, but
being an inanimate object that's life-size, that just shouldn't be alive, and yet comes to life. I think that's always going to be creepy.
Mannequins are creepy too, and I'm waiting for mannequins to be done in a creepy movie. As I recall, I haven't seen anything. If you guys want to get in the comments, I haven't seen mannequins made creepy or effectively creepy in a movie.
There's a movie I might have to make you watch sometime called Tourist Trap.
Okay.
It's about a killer with psychic powers that also has a quintessential tourist trap kind of thing off the highway that's packed full of mannequins and stuff, and some of them move around a little bit, and you'll have to watch it with me sometime.
I did see them in Layers of Fear 2. They utilize mannequins.
I haven't started playing it yet,
and it's creepy.
I do have it. I haven't started it yet, but yeah, I need to make videos on that one.
You gonna do a playthrough of it?
I should.
If you guys aren't subscribed to Danger Nips, that's Jonas's video game playthrough channel.
Yeah, if you look it up, the newest video at the time of recording this will be a bunch of crap about ponies. So don't take that to be the entire channel. I just decided to make a stupid one-off video because I was bored today.
They know how to YouTube. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll see the rest of my content.
And then I'm on Looking Glass playthroughs, if I haven't hammered that into you guys' heads yet.
This guy is the king of content. If you guys want 90-plus videos about Pokemon...
Only about 20 of them are probably Pokemon.
I gotta give you crap, but yeah, he does have a lot of good stuff over there you guys can check out.
We played through Man of Medan in its entirety. That was a good playthrough. That's basically a horror movie put into a video game somehow. And then Jonas and I both did challenges on impossible mode for Dead Space. And Dead Space is one of our favorite video games.
Yeah, it's easily top 5.
It's so good. And if you guys don't know what Dead Space is and you're horror fans, you need to check that out.
I don't know, unless you're like 17 years old and somehow never got your hands on an Xbox to play.
How do you not know what it is?
I know. Dead Space is so iconic.
Yeah.
Well, I said my piece on Creep Show. I mean, we're both in agreement. If you guys have a Shudder subscription and haven't started watching that one, I mean, get on it. That is one of the best series that you can... we have, I think it's 98 days till Halloween right now. So it's the perfect time to start ramping up your horror. It's the perfect time to start binging those series, start getting into those shows, start watching those movies that you bought and have have on the shelf that you haven't cracked open yet. Of course, I'm still waiting for my my new release Blu-rays to start coming in, and I'm super excited to watch Motel Hell in 4K.
Oh, Motel Hell.
You know, it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters.
That's another one I have to watch. I'm not anticipating liking it much, but it's got a creepy pig-wearing guy on it, and that looks scary, so I'm going to watch it.
I mean, Chainsaw Duel. This is where Resident Evil 7 got the idea for the Chainsaw Duel in that game.
Oh, and that was so creepy. I just watched the Danger Nips playthrough where you did that on Resident Evil 4, and I've never played Resident Evil 4. I haven't played any Resident Evil, but watching him play it and that chainsaw dude, you're pretty good at it though.
Yeah, I've had a lot of practice playing that game.
As I told you the other day, I had one experience where someone was playing it at that part, and they just I walked in or whatever, and they tossed the controller in my hand like, here, try and survive, and I don't know what I'm doing or how to play. And then
the more you talk about that, I almost wonder if it was me.
Was it you? I don't know.
It might have been.
It's like, well, I don't know how to play, but I'll run from, oh my god, chainsaw baghead guy. Well, I'm dead, but it sure did scare me, so...
That would be Dr. Salvatore.
Yeah.
I'm such a nerd for Resident Evil, I know the name of the baghead guy with the chainsaw.
I don't usually like spoilers, but is he going to come back then? Is that...
they never really make it clear if it's the same baghead chainsaw dude.
Or if it's a new one. You didn't kill him. He got called into the church.
But you can kill him.
Oh.
You can actually, and he drops like a ruby, which is like a valuable item, so you get more money for it.
Okay.
But it's like, it's a gamble. Do you want to risk getting chainsawed by the dude to try and kill him?
Nope.
Most of the time you want to run away, but there is a part that's going to be coming up in my playthrough where I have to deal with 2 women chainsawers at the same time.
Dear God.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Can't wait. And then if you guys are lucky, we'd love to hear your opinions, but maybe you'll get Jonas for the first time ever playing through Man of Medan, which is what...
I do want to start this sometime soon, yeah.
Man of Medan is the ultimate horror game. If you like movies, you like horror films, Man of Medan is a horror film that you play, and it's so awesome. It's got screen capture from famous actors.
Or no, you're thinking of Until Dawn.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I said Man of Medan,
well,
didn't
you've
I?
been thinking about Man of Medan ever since you couldn't get the vinyl.
Yeah. Well, Man of Medan is from the same people.
Right.
But it's like the follow-up to Until Dawn. Somehow they don't credit it as that, though. They started... So Until Dawn is its own game, and it was a PS4 exclusive. I think that might have...
Was there a studio change in talent or something?
I don't know. I'd have to look more into it. But you can tell it's the same people.
Yeah.
They use the same opening song, but performed by different people for the opening. It's the same, but for some reason, it's probably because they didn't know they were going to make it into a series, so it's not part of the dark pictures.
That could have been.
But I'm like, give it credit. It's amazing. But yeah, that game's amazing. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but my hopes are to play that with Danger Nips over here, Mr. Jonas. And he doesn't know a whole lot about it, so that'll be a lot of fun going in.
I have actively looked away from anything about this game ever since we started having this little inception about this.
Yeah.
And there have been so many damn videos on YouTube about either playthroughs of this or I've seen news articles.
Good.
I've seen news articles come across my freaking Google News thing about like, oh, this is the dumbest choice that you could possibly make in Until Dawn. And I'm like,
no.
keep scrolling, not even looking.
The thing that's so appealing about that game is you can watch 3 different people play it, and whereas you watch 3 different people play Dead Space, you know the beats, you're tired of it. You watch 3 different people play Until Dawn, you're still eating popcorn and like, what choices they going to make? It's going to be different for everyone.
It's, once in a while some games come along that are kind of like that, where you can have completely different run-throughs on tactics or where you go at what time in the game. A lot of the open world ones are like that, but trying to make a YouTube series out of an open world game, it's really hard to keep people coming back because it's too massive. Like I remember watching somebody was doing a playthrough for Breath of the Wild. And I stuck around for about like 4 videos, and after that I'm just like, I just want to play the game myself, because it's just like I want to run around and just do the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And then I ended up buying the game and just doing that.
Yeah. I don't get that. I feel a sense of responsibility from those type of games, and I don't like to put myself in that. I think I'm somewhat of a completionist, and the thought of putting myself into a Fallout game right now, or like a massive game like that, it's just too much responsibility, too much to try and take on. I'm like, I got other stuff to do. You put in a game like Crash Bandicoot or Until Dawn, where it's gonna kind of play out, and I can play it to my.
Well, it's like Doom Eternal or something. I can pick that game up. I can play for half an hour and do one level of like progressing whatever campaign that I'm on, and I can have fun doing it. Unless, oh my god, I had this really dumb glitch, and I don't know if it's just because I play on PC or what it is, but it was like game breaking, and it annoyed the piss out of me the last time I played. Like I think it was like 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, just like my once a week, because we're old men now and don't get to game all the time. My like once a week game day, I'm gonna throw in a little bit of Doom Eternal, and I'm just playing through. There's a mode called I'm trying to get an achievement for like 1-up. It's basically you have to beat the game on extra life mode with more than 25 extra lives. And I've got like 40 in the bank at this point. I'm cruising along. I'm doing pretty good. This didn't affect my progress, but the whole point of me bitching about this is because I couldn't progress. I got all the way through this long-ass level. It's like one of the last hell levels in this one. And I get to the end where I just... sometimes to progress, to get something to happen, to trigger an event in the game, you have to kill all the enemies. There was this stupid little fodder demon that just for some reason became immortal. My bullets could not hurt it. I couldn't hurt it with grenades, couldn't hurt it with a flamethrower. It just, all it did was jump around, buzz me, and try to attack me once in a while. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even chainsaw it. And it just like, it drove me to the brink of wanting to put my fist through the goddamn screen. I hated it so much, and I'm just like, I have to turn everything off and step away at this point. And I have not picked it back up since then. But yeah, I actually made a video of another glitch that happened and put it on Twitter a couple of months back, where I had like a similar thing happen where there was an enemy that just wouldn't attack me. It was just docile. It would just like stand there. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on here? So I made a video of it. I just go up to it, I poke it, and it doesn't do anything. So I just kind of shoot it. Doesn't do anything. I shoot it, and it's cool because there's effects in this game where flesh flies off, whatever part of the body you hit. So I took every bit of flesh off of this thing I could before I shot it square in the chest, and then it woke up and started trying to attack me. It's hilarious. It's like, oh, you're there. Sometimes AI in computer games can be pretty dumb, but I think that's just glitches in games in general. Sometimes they do so much polish on so much of the other stuff that the simple testing kind of stuff just kind of gets lost.
Yeah, we had a couple instances like that happen in our Alice Madness Returns playthrough, where there was, just recently we uploaded an episode where there's a big bad kind of coming after us, and I got far enough away from it and it was like stuck on the wall and wasn't coming after me, and I was like, yes, use this time to heal, and somehow I survived. It was going to kill me until that happened, and then I'm like, well, that's convenient. So I'm fine with it. I'm just putting that out there.
Sometimes it can work to your favor. Yeah. If you really want to cheese a game and it gives you the opportunity to do it, sometimes it's not always a bad thing.
You talked about the terror earlier, and
right.
I really don't want to spoil much of anything of this series. I just want to say that it's underrated. I don't hear anything about this series.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because when I think you might have been the one that told me about it.
Yeah.
And I think I might have heard about it in passing, maybe in an article somewhere, that it was just like a show that was out. But yeah, everybody slept on this one. Like, I didn't see any coverage on any of the YouTube channels. I hardly saw any ads for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just like put it out as...
I saw ads for it.
Did you?
Like when it was new. when it was a new show. And that's how we made it a point. There's a lot of actors in Game of Thrones in it. And we're pretty big on Game of Thrones here. And we saw them, and then we saw that it was creepy. We're like, well, we want to watch that. So we did see some advertisements for it, and so we jumped on it. But since then, I was surprised it had a season 2 because I didn't think that anyone saw it.
Yeah, it seems like it's the same showrunner, but it seems so different tonally.
Yeah.
Between the 2 seasons, and I've only watched the first episode of season 2. It seems like it's going in such a different direction that they might have changed a lot of things up between the productions. I gotta say, I'm probably gonna like season 1 more, but I won't say that for sure before I finish season 2.
I just want to say that the best way to describe the series without any spoilers is it's an anthology series like American Horror Story, but where American Horror Story gets kind of campy and kind of loses itself. This is shorter episodes, self-contained seasons, and it's very serious and dark. Like it's very...
Yeah, there's not really a lot of comedy in this.
It's very gritty. And I was telling Jonas, not just because the actor's in it, but it gives me serious Chernobyl vibes.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big reasons I wanted to watch it, was because it starred one of the same guys that was in Chernobyl. And Chernobyl, it's so weird to say, yeah, I rewatched it. But yes, I actually bought it on Blu-ray. I have the vinyl for it. I'm a big fan of that series. I know it's depressing as all hell, but the acting is just so solid in that show. I'm hard-pressed to think of another show that came out recently that's a true story that did such a good job with the material.
The Terror.
The Terror. Well, The Terror.
Which that's something else that we can say is that it's
based in reality.
It's based on events that happen in reality, but then they kind of do their own thing with it.
And I appreciate that, because they did kind of the same thing with some of the seasons of American Horror Story.
Yeah.
But yeah, to take the whole idea of like ships from England going out to the Arctic to try and find the fabled Northwest Passage that may or may not exist, to try and find a shortcut to China. Well, yeah, it doesn't work out so great for them, but we won't get into that so you guys can see what happens.
Just check out The Terror. It's great.
Yeah, please.
You have the internet. You know how to look into it if you're interested.
Google is a thing.
And we mentioned American Horror Story, so we might as well move into that. That's an obvious one.
Do we know what the new season's about?
So it was going to have something to do with the ocean or water, either the beach or something on the ocean. But because of COVID, they couldn't film when they needed to film.
Oh, so this season's canceled?
It's not officially been canceled, but I think it might be pushed back.
God, is that the freaking phrase of the year right now?
Or they're going to do a different season this year and then do that one later. Because
if they made it on a cruise ship, that would be so fitting with everything going on.
What they did, because a lot of this is secretive, obviously. The season hasn't come out. They don't want to tell us everything. But what they did say was a lot of where the season builds to relies on a storm. And so they had a very strict schedule set up to film when they needed to around a storm or something, and that can't happen now. So, and I think their shooting schedule has been passed in time by this point.
I think that might actually also be because it's actual storm season now. So to shoot on like the water would probably be a little bit problematic at this point.
Or maybe it's what they wanted and they just...
That could be too. What if they wanted an actual storm?
So that's what I've heard. But American Horror Story as a whole, everyone, I'm assuming, knows what it is. We're on a horror channel. You know what American Horror Story is. That one's a real roller coaster, right?
Oh, yeah. There have been amazing seasons, and there have been...
very underwhelming seasons.
I won't even mention Apocalypse, because I thought it could have been so great, and then they squandered everything that they were working on with that one.
I didn't mind Apocalypse that much, but isn't that kind of the series as a whole lately? It's just it could have been
build up, and then no payoff.
That's the best way to describe American Horror Story in the last 5 years. It could have been great, but it wasn't.
There's so many times where they set up something awesome, and then it's just like, it's the same thing you were talking about with James Gunn.
Yeah.
It's like they should give you this great idea, and you're like, oh, rubbing your hands together, like, oh, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert, nowhere. That was just a red herring that we just threw in this episode, and we're never going to mention it again.
But that also could be a taste thing. I remember feeling that way heavily in Coven, which was season 3, and a lot of people love Coven.
I thought it was good.
That was one that, for me, seasons 1 and 2 are the best.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel.
Season 1 is a strong favorite, but I want to kind of give it to season 4 or 5.
4 is good, but generally speaking, seasons 1 and 2 are really good.
Yeah.
And 3 had that arc where it was like it was building for the witches and the witch hunters to kind of
and
fight.
Then in
or
one episode, they just...
Yep.
Not even one episode, it was like 5 minutes.
It was... I don't know if they brought up the arc in that episode or not, but yeah, they had this potential to take... They give you characters on each side and then pit them against each other, and then it could have been a big thing, and then they just secretly poisoned them all or something dumb, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was... They showed up for that meeting, and then they just... Oh, guess what? You guys are all dead.
So that's what I think of when I think they had a good idea there, and they could have capitalized on it, but they just didn't.
It's kind of what I think about, like, when I think of the Resident Evil movies. It's like a lot of those could have been really good, but then we got this schlocky crap instead of... And you know, the series has always been built on cheese. It is built on a solid foundation of cheese from the first game that came out. But that first movie, you know, it was just good enough that they could have gone a different direction with it. But by the time the second movie came out and we watched it, we're just like, okay, now we know this is just going to be B grade for the rest of the time.
I feel bad, though. I feel like we're being so negative. I don't mean to be so negative.
And I don't either, because I love these properties.
Were things...
Resident Evil is one of my favorite kind of entertainment franchises that's ever existed. I want it to do good. I want it to be good. But when it's bad, I have to call it out. Because it's just like, it's just right there in your face. Like, you can't tell me you watched the very last Resident Evil movie and thought that it was a cinematic milestone.
I enjoyed the first Resident Evil film and didn't enjoy the second one, so I didn't continue.
I saw every single one of them in theaters.
That's rough.
Every single one. And it was a tradition for us, because it was like we skipped a day in high school to see the first one. The second one I got to see when I just got out of boot camp. I barely made it home when it was still in theaters.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of happenstance that I just happened to be able to get to each one. But the last one, man, I felt like I got ripped off so hard.
I'm sure a lot of people did. I haven't heard much positive talk come out of the Resident Evil series.
If anybody gave that one a glowing review, I would think that they were one of those people that we talked about earlier.
Okay. There were things about Coven that were... Coven isn't... I don't hate the season, but compared to... I think Asylum is amazing. I love it so much.
They didn't hype up the aliens enough.
And I love I know, controversial statement. I love the alien take in Asylum. I guess people hated it. And so
it was only season 2, and they're just like, well, this is just supposed to be about the evil demons and the ghosts, and why are we doing aliens?
It was a science versus religion theme through the whole thing, so it made sense that there would be demons and then aliens. But if I remember correctly, that's why there haven't been any more aliens in anything else, is because the backlash they got. So they were like, we're not doing aliens anymore.
Yeah, I bet that was quite a bit.
It was scary.
If they did a whole season just about aliens, I think that would be awesome.
Oh, man.
Because you could take it so many different angles. You could have, like, the straight-laced kind of Fox Mulder kind of person that just wants the facts, but wants to kind of believe.
So let me get this straight. You want Ryan Murphy to do the X-Files, is what you're...
It could be fun. I mean, I went into Scream Queens not knowing what to think, but this guy got me to watch it anyway. Jesse lent me his DVD of season 1.
Scream Queens.
And it, I got a few episodes in and I'm like, what is the show? What am I even watching?
Why did Jesse want me to watch this?
But then after a while it dawned on me, it's cheese. It's just supposed to be this like bad B movie kind of horror thing, and you're supposed to be having fun with it, and I was trying to take it seriously. And that's where I was going wrong. And then I watched it through those kind of colored glasses, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, this is fun. It's just dumb.
And that's kind of why I think that there's something to be valued in more or less in every film. It's like maybe you're just not looking at it through the lens that it needs to be looked at through to be enjoyed.
If you're gonna say all films matter, I think we better stop this podcast right now.
I'm not going there. We're gonna name our top. Let's name our top 4 favorite seasons of American Horror Story. Because I want to know if they're
in any particular order. Or are we gonna go number 1 is number 1 kind of thing?
Whatever. I mean, I could probably put them in an order, but I just want to know if we have the same favorites.
Okay.
Is this something that you can think of right now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My number 4 pick, like 4th from the top, I'm probably gonna go with. I'll put Asylum at number 4.
Yeah.
It was good, but I think they just did better as the show went on. That's why
You think American Horror Story got better as the show went on?
Yes. I know this is going to be a controversial one, but
for me it is.
My number 3 is actually going to be Freak Show.
Okay.
So I think that one's really good, as in like story wise, and even some of the unexpected turns.
Freak Show is wonderful.
Freak Show is good, and just bringing Neil Patrick Harris in at near the end of the season.
Oh my gosh,
that was just so unknown that it's just like, oh, you want to be on the show? Yeah, we'll write you in.
I don't think American Horror Story has traumatized me as much as his scene has traumatized me.
I'll buzz through the rest of mine quick though. That's 4 and 3.
Yeah. I just want to mention Dandy Mott is amazing, and I don't think Dandy Mott has been topped as far as characters go in American Horror Story.
Yeah, he's pretty damn evil.
But okay, so
he reminded me a lot of like a young Patrick Bateman or something. But
he was so great. He was such a whiny brat, but then he was killing people, and it was just
my number 2 is gonna be 1984.
Okay, which was the last one,
which was the newest season, and I have to admit, after Apocalypse, I was ready to write off the show. I told everybody that I knew, I'm done with this show. I'm glad that it's over.
And you're not alone.
And I thought that it was over. I thought that they came out and said, this is the season that's going to tie it all together, and we always wanted it to be 6 seasons long, and this is going to be the last one. And
see, I never heard that.
But yeah, I thought that's what it was, and then they came out with 1984, and I was like enraged when I first heard about it. I'm like, you motherfuckers are going to try and make an 80s season. I hate you. I can't believe you would try to do this. And then I watched it. And then I had to shut up. because I was completely wrong.
Oh, man.
And, okay, this is the thing, too. I'll say this real fast, but you have to be willing to call yourself out on bullshit. You have to be able to say, I was wrong. Which apparently is really hard for people to do right now. It's not flip-flopping. People can say, hey, I had a stupid take on this. And you can walk it back and be like, you know what, actually, that's pretty good. And maybe I didn't give it a fair shake the first time, but that's actually a good thing. And yeah, 1984 is awesome. I mean, just to have... I didn't know where it was going. I was like 2 or 3 episodes in before I started really liking it. But then after I started liking it, I'm like, I can't wait to see the next one. All right, and just wrap it all up. You know what my number 1's going to be.
The first one?
The first season.
But you said they get better as they go on.
It does get better as it goes on. But it wouldn't have had the chance to get better if they wouldn't have made a dynamite first season. The first season is what propelled it all forward. Still, the best opening music, too, was that first season theme song. It is the scariest opening to any show ever.
And they use it for the first 3 seasons, and then by 4 is when they're like, well, we can change up the opening to fit the season. And then they kept that kind of, they would change it every year.
Although the 1984 theme is awesome, too.
It's amazing.
It's really good.
Yeah. So you already know what I'm going to say, or do I have to?
I think I know what your picks are going to be, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say my picks were the exact same picks as yours, just a different order.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Was there one you thought was going to be in there that wasn't?
I'm trying to think. I didn't think you were going to like the election, like that whole season.
Right.
That was one that I really fell off on.
I think that it was Cult was the season.
Cult, that's what it was.
And I think it had a really strong first half with who's in this cult. They're wearing the creepy masks like Clockwork Orange or something.
Do you ever think that they just write themselves into a corner? Like they don't, they have like kind of an outline of where they want to go, but then halfway through the season they haven't written the other half.
I think what it is, and this is just my thoughts, genuinely, I'm not saying this is what it is, but Ryan Murphy has a lot going on. He had Scream Queens, he had American Horror Story.
No, they only ever write the first episode. Like, you can see their writing credits. It's like they write the first 2 episodes between him and Falchuk, and then they just hand it over to other people.
I think that was only some of the seasons, and I think that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
Is that some of those, they're like, we don't have time for this. We'll write these and then have fun.
Yeah, just take my advice on this one. Daddy needs to come home. You need to come home and set shit right and have some more seasons like 1984.
So, yeah. We picked the same ones. I would probably put top 4, 1984 as number 4. And then probably Freak Show. And my second one would be the first season Murder House. And then
you put Asylum at number 1.
Asylum is my favorite.
Okay.
So
I can dig that, because you're almost going in chronological order until you hit those last 2.
I mean, yeah, close anyway. Yeah, with the exception of Coven, I feel like the first couple ones were the best, and then they went downhill for a long time. I still watched them, I still enjoyed them, but they definitely went downhill.
So we have Murder House, Asylum,
and then this
Coven.
Last one, it was like, that was really good.
After Coven, it was Freak Show, and then
Hotel was number 5.
Hotel was decent. Roanoke is where I started seeing it fall off.
I'm not big on vampires, and they did the... I like the idea of the hotel.
Yeah.
And it being based off of...
H.H. Holmes.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't like the vampire Lady Gaga stuff as much. And then
kind of weird.
And then I felt like the twist they pulled with those murders were... It was 7. It was like blatantly ripped off of 7, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't.
No, they weren't even trying to hide.
It was 7, and then the way they ended that arc, I felt like was such a cop out ending. I didn't like it. Like, well, that's a generic ending to give it.
Yeah, I know.
But I did enjoy it. I liked March. I liked the hotel and what they did with it.
You know, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that scene where they had the serial killer dinner, just to see if they have the same guy playing Richard Ramirez in that scene that they use in 1984.
Yeah, I doubt they do, but
Yeah,
that would be cool if they did. So yeah,
I feel like they were setting it up in advance, which I don't think that they were thinking that far ahead.
That's American Horror Story in a nutshell. But I will say this: the last one they did was 1974, right? 1984. My bad. And then we both loved it, and I've always said on here, I've got a thing for the ocean. That's where the fear be for me. And if they were planning on making a season that has to do with the ocean, I'm all for that. If you're
not terrified of the ocean, then you, my friend, have not stopped to think about how gigantic and cold and black and just vast that thing is.
You know,
just watch a documentary about deep sea fish and tell me you ain't scared.
You know that your fear is a bit extreme when you're scared of whales, so I'll leave that there.
I mean, just the giantness of them, sure. I could see that. I mean, they've had elephants kill people before, too, so...
Yep, just being smart, guys. So, real quick, did you ever watch Hemlock Grove?
No, I never did, but that's the werewolf one, right?
Yeah. It's got some vampire werewolf kind of stuff
Is
in
there
it, but
a vampire
very
werewolf hybrid?
very loosely. It's not like... So there have been a lot of vampire werewolf shows and movies. Twilight and Underworld and all that was big. This is very much characters first and story first, but then also that is kind of happening in the
It's
back.
almost like a True Blood kind of thing.
Even less than True Blood, I would say. But yeah, closer to that, where Hemlock Grove went 3 seasons, and I'm gonna say I think the first one is really the only one that anyone needs to watch. I think this was based on a book or something. I don't know how far the book goes and if they tried to expand on it with the other seasons or what. But the first season of Hemlock Grove is really good. I remember watching it and thinking, this is groundbreaking stuff. And
How long ago did that come out?
It's been a while. It stars Bill Skarsgård before he was Pennywise. Before people knew who he was.
So even before what was that Stephen King show that just came out?
It was before Castle Rock.
Before Castle Rock, even.
And season 1 is really good. Season 2 is okay, but it's not as good. And then season 3 was pretty bad. And they tried to wrap everything up in 3 and just kind of ruined it. But season 1 is a really good murder mystery. If you ever feel like checking it out, it was a Netflix exclusive, which I know you currently don't have, but I'm just putting that out there. I did want to bring that up.
Well, there's only one other horror show that I think really deserves to be talked about, and I think you know which one I'm going to bring up.
What was the one you just mentioned?
Creepshow is the first one I was talking about.
No, what did you just mention?
Oh, the Stephen King one?
Yeah.
The
Castle Rock?
Castle Rock. That's not the one I'm going to talk about.
You disliked that to the point that you quit watching it.
It wasn't that I disliked it. It was that I just got bored watching it. It was too slow, and there were parts of it that really did keep me entertained. Like there was I don't want to spoil too much, but the part of the prison where somebody ends up going crazy, and that part like really got me, and I watched another episode after that, but then it fell off in the next episode, and it was just really dry and just really heavily dialogue driven, and I'm just like kind of blinking my eyes trying to stay awake watching it. I still have it, so I can still go back and watch it.
I was gonna say, I don't want to dwell on it. You have something you want to bring up here, but I just want to say I think that it's almost criminal that you would feel that way. It has a pretty solid direction that it takes it in, and I think you should give it another chance, especially being so into horror and being so open-minded about a lot of the movies and things you check out. I think I don't know if it would be something that you would have to go back and start over, which I know is probably a thought that makes you dread watching it, but
I can watch it quick on one of my programs on my computer. I can just scan through it faster, so that way I can just kind of get the broad strokes of everything that had happened. I'm never going to remember all the character names or anything, but I'll get back to it around. I mean, we have a long 6 months ahead of us where there's going to be limited releases, almost no production of new shows.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
We have all the time in the world to get back to all these things that we haven't had time for.
Yeah, that's true.
But I know I'm going to end up watching some of the same things I've watched 100 times before just because it's like comfort videos that just I want to watch it again.
I think Castle Rock is criminally underrated as well, right next to The Terror. And that's all we'll say on it. like I said, you
Well,
you
it
haven't
leads
seen
me.
it.
It's a perfect segue for me to go right into something that is both a comfort watch for me, oddly enough, and something that I figure was criminally underrated. Channel Zero.
Channel Zero is on my list as well. We had
That's-
to talk about that.
Man, I can't fathom in what world do you make a show about creepypastas, produce it so well that it just blows away the viewer with some of the most just dark and unsettling imagery to ever be on a show on basic cable, which like, floored me that I just found this on
Wasn't it
Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi Channel?
Sci-Fi Channel originally aired this show, and somehow it doesn't end up as like a number one kind of show. Like, it should have been insanely more popular than it became.
I don't know what the issue was, marketing or what, but it's definitely a solid show. And part of it, just thinking about it now, they're only 6 episodes long.
Right.
So
it was amazingly short seasons.
What if it's just a matter of it was on for such a short window that people didn't catch wind of it in time? By the time they did, it was over. Something like that. Because the show is amazing.
If for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, it's an anthology series. It's based on popular creepypastas. The first season is it's a must-watch. If you ever get the chance to get a free trial to Shudder, which is, they're handing these things out left and right. Any YouTube channel you watch, they get sponsored by Shudder. You can use codes that like their names for their channels. If you just Google Shudder code, I'm sure you're gonna find like 50 of them. It's not hard to get a free trial. Get a free trial. Watch the 6-episode first season, and they've got the rest of them on there too. So if you get hooked, you can watch the other 3 seasons. So it only ran for 4. So in total, that's not too many shows to watch, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And we talk about American Horror Story and how the quality kind of dips. Channel Zero is solid every season.
Yeah, the only thing that changed was the 4th season. The last season had a different special effects artist. Because there was a guy, the first 3 seasons, all the special effects, creature effects, are done by a guy named Oliver de Sagazin. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He's a French artist. And he makes these creepy, surrealist kind of art installations out of people. It's weird. If you ever go to his YouTube channel, don't blame me for nightmares. I warned you ahead of time. He makes some of the creepiest. I think he might have had one of the original video creepypastas made from one of his work. And that's got to be where the guys that make the show saw this video. It's like, him. We need him to do the creature effects. And it's just like, you were trying to get someone to make you a Horace Horrible outfit, and it was something this guy designed.
I know. See, it's rarely that... I guess I shouldn't say it's rare, but we have something when both of us come together and we're both hands down, yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And they did practical creature designs, which pulled you in, and everything was very modern and current as far as cinematography. And
they did a great job with the camera work in that series too.
Yeah. And I'm not usually big on television that doesn't mirror film and cinematography, or at least come close. It's got to feel... I have to feel the quality, I would say.
There's something to be said whenever you can mention quality and Sci-Fi Channel in the same sentence.
Which, speaking of, we're talking about horror TV, Sci-Fi Channel, they are releasing the Chucky series.
Which has me, I'm both enthusiastic and worried at the same time. But Brad Dourif has already signed up. He's confirmed that he's going to be in the show as Chucky.
And it's the original show. I want to say showrunner. The
original, yeah, it's Don... Is it Don Mancini? Is that the name of the guy?
I don't know.
I'm going to sound like a complete jackass if I got that wrong. But
I'm going to say yes and not know it. But I just know that it's the same guy that's been doing Chucky, and he's going to do a series. So,
yeah,
sure.
I'm really excited, but also...
Sci-Fi Channel.
I'm going to just kind of hedge my excitement a little bit with a dose of reality that it is coming out on Sci-Fi.
But so did Channel Zero.
Yeah.
And it's the people behind it that matter, right?
Yeah.
They know how to make a movie. So let's let them have it.
And if they made something like Channel Zero to start with, then I'm all for it. Even though they canceled it, I'll never understand why they couldn't get more seasons than 4.
We'll still always have 4 seasons of gold.
4 good seasons, too. How hard is it to say that about a show where you like every season? Other than like Hannibal, I can count on one hand like the number of shows where I like every season.
Let's so there's 4 seasons. The first one's Candle Cove. The second one's the
that's the
No End House.
No End House.
The third one is the Dream Door.
Dream Door. Yep.
No, that's the fourth one. Fourth one is Dream Door.
Third one is Butcher Block.
Butcher's Block. And so Candle Cove is based on the creepypasta Candle Cove. No End House is based on the creepypasta No End House, right?
I think that's what it was called, yeah.
The third one, Butcher's Block, is actually based on a series of short stories by a park ranger.
Right, about mysterious staircases that appear out of nowhere and lead to nowhere.
Which those are really interesting if you want to check those out. And then the 4th season, the Dream Door, is based off of, it might just be the Dream Door.
I didn't look that one up either.
I want to say it's something slightly different.
It's based on the legend of the helpful man known as Pretzel Jack. He's such a nice guy.
What's your favorite season? Without giving too many spoilers.
Season 1.
Season 1?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy for me to say that just because, I bought the damn shirt. I had to go to some black market Chinese website to find merch for a show, but I'm that much of a diehard fan that I got Tooth Boy on a shirt, and I wore it to the one and only horror convention that I went to with you, and I was mentioning to you, of all the people at this horror convention that noticed that I was wearing a Channel Zero shirt, it was actually the helper for one of the people that I was getting an autograph for. That was like, "Hey, Channel Zero, that's a pretty nice shirt."
Like one of the volunteer vendors.
Yeah, one of the volunteers, and I think it was for Jeff Anderson.
Yeah,
it was actually his volunteer that was like saying, "Hey, that's pretty awesome."
Mine's also season 1. So yeah, we're pretty much mutual agreement there.
There's always going to be something amazingly creepy about kids as killers.
And I think for me it's just the weird concept of a show that you remember, but it was never actually a show.
To give everybody broad strokes, season 1 is about a show called Candle Cove that may or may not have ever existed. But for an entire generation of now adults, when they were kids, they all remember watching a show called Candle Cove.
And that's pretty much enough for me to be like, I'm in. And it didn't disappoint. It's
just
great.
To see one of the first episodes, I think it was like episode 2, to see one of the now adults who used to watch the show come into a room and see a child staring into a TV that's just on a static station, and just have him look up and go,
"They're here."
Wait,
wrong movie.
It was just like, what are you watching? And he's just like, Candle Cove.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, well, we're ready to go into Bravery Cave?
Oh my gosh. We have a coworker, and he does a lot of woodwork. And I always used to joke around with him, because obviously he wasn't going to do it. That's a ton of work. But I was like, if you ever want to make me those puppets from Candle Cove, feel free.
Oh, and, those would be awesome to have on a shelf somewhere.
They would be so expensive. Can you imagine wood carved?
Well, just if you got somebody that was at least, friendly towards you, that would make you a good deal. For the price of the wood, the paint, and the actual man hours to do it.
That's the expensive part.
And that's the thing. You would have to get a friend rate. But I think you could get per doll, if you were going to make them about, like, I'm motioning with my hands.
Like
you're thinking about 16 to 18 inches.
Yeah.
I was thinking like 12 to 14, but if you were going to go like that size, probably about $200 a doll.
Because I was thinking probably about the size they actually are. So, yeah, Channel Zero, guys. If you haven't... And, I just want to say, not to keep bringing them up, but I think What Culture did a list where they did actually shout out Channel Zero.
They did say something about it.
And we were like, oh my God, we're not alone. Someone
noticed.
else has seen Channel Zero. So, yeah.
That's one of those where, you know what? I'm almost like, it's bittersweet. Like, I hate that it didn't get more popular and that it didn't get additional seasons, but I'm also like, I'm kind of happy that it's like, it's ours.
Part of you is like, we're an exclusive club.
Yeah, like, it's like nobody else is going to love this show. Like, we gave away as a prize to somebody at a Halloween party an entire pack of the whole 4 seasons, and it's like become almost like a running joke that we ask him, like, hey, you got into that show yet? And he still hasn't watched the first episode of season 1 yet.
It's been almost a year.
Yeah, almost a year, and he's not cracked open that case yet.
Like, there are only 6 episodes a season, man. I know you like some weird crap, so get into it.
And that's the thing. It was actually a prize I had won because I had been voted scariest costume at Jesse's Halloween party.
I think you won best costume.
It was best overall?
Yeah.
I won as Dr. Decker from Nightbreed, and I know the pictures have been floating around Twitter. You guys can probably find it. But, yeah, I won best, and the prize was the complete collection of Channel Zero and an autographed knife from Twisty Troy Baker, who is actually the guy that plays Pretzel Jack in Season 4. And I now have that knife framed in a nice box along with my copy of Dream Door, and it's one of my prized possessions. I love that thing. But yeah, I had no need for it because I already had all 4 seasons. So I'm just like, you know what? I gave it to the guy that I thought deserved it for putting in a lot of work on a costume that didn't get a lot of appreciation.
And also the guy that you thought would enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing his taste.
Because he's right up there with us for liking the out there kind of horror stuff.
But then he just doesn't watch it, and that makes it so much worse.
And you know what? I can see why. He's got issues at home. I'll leave it at that.
Do we need to talk about Hannibal?
Nope. Everybody knows what that one's a good one. No, but if you want to go into it, yeah, I could.
We won't dwell on it, but Hannibal needs mentioning. We're talking about horror and TV and achievements.
There are whispers about a renewal.
Yeah.
But we don't know. There's nothing concrete. There was just Hugh Dancy, Mads Mikkelsen, and God, I'm going to blank on the showrunner's name. But they were all at a panel recently, and they were asked if they could feasibly see bringing the show back. And they said, like, yeah, anytime people want us to come back and we get a deal.
Like, we want you to come back.
Like, all 3 of them agreed. Like, yeah, we would love to keep doing it.
They're like, no, we're telling you right now. We want you to keep doing it.
Yeah. It's like, but there's been rumors because this came at a time like a week after or before Netflix just acquired all 3 seasons of the show. So there's kind of some mystery there. Like, was this a planned publicity kind of thing that, like, we're gonna make this statement and then announce, hey, season 4 coming to Netflix 2022?
And you responded to that article or whatever on the internet or on Twitter with the Hawkeye, don't do that.
Yeah. Don't give me hope.
Don't give me hope. That's pretty accurate.
That is exactly how we feel, because that is not only one of the best written shows, it's one of the most beautiful shows. And that's so crazy that it could be so beautiful and have the subject matter that it has.
I was going to say, it's definitely, I give it the award for the most morbid and dark thing I have ever seen.
and on somehow, network television, on friggin' NBC. How did they ever swing that?
I don't know. And also, it is, you said it's beautiful. Like, it is very artsy.
It's like haunting. It's hauntingly beautiful in some of the shots they do.
It's amazing. If you haven't seen Hannibal yet and you're a horror fan, what are you doing?
Yeah, give back your horror club card. You do not deserve to call yourself a horror fan.
No, I will say this. I don't know how many times people have asked me, what's a show you recommend, or what should I watch?
We were just having that talk the other day at work.
Yeah, and I've said Hannibal, and the follow-up response has been, is it on Netflix? And I'm like, no, it's not on Netflix. It is now on Netflix. Say, like,
yeah, it's on Netflix. So now you don't have a reason to say that, oh, I just didn't watch it yet. It's not on Netflix.
Yeah, it is on Netflix. So go check it out if you haven't. But you already have, haven't you? You've seen it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to the vinyl. I have the freaking soundtracks. I'm such a nut for this goddamn show. I stopped short of just buying the cookbook of Cooking with Hannibal. I came so close to buying that, and I'm like, this is just... I shouldn't do that.
Of course you did. And even the music is very unnerving.
It's funny because the soundtracks for the seasons are split in 2 volumes apiece for each season. I have the soundtrack for season 1, volume 1 and 2. The thing that I kind of understand, it's a series. It's not like a movie. To have a soundtrack for a series on vinyl, you would have like 20 records for one season. Because it says on the back of it, like in writing, on the back of the gatefold jacket, it says, this is soundtracks comprised from over 50 hours of music composed for season 1 of Hannibal. These are selections that we feel best represent our artistic vision of the show. And I can appreciate that, but man, what a job that must be to try and pull, an hour and 50 something minutes of music off of 50 hours of show. Holy crap, man. I would not want that job. Yeah. Because people are going to hate, oh, you didn't put in the segment in episode 3 at exactly timestamp 44 minutes. And, I would hate it.
That's why there's so many tracks and things for Game of Thrones. They have one for each season, but each one has 3 discs in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got to make sure they get it all in there. And there's probably more episodes in Hannibal, I would assume.
I think every season is 12?
Yeah.
Maybe more? Maybe 15?
Was there anything else on Hannibal? Or
I did want to say that
it's amazing. Is that what
you remember what happened with my Amazon order? I have the worst luck.
Which one?
I have the worst luck humanly imaginable with anything online purchase related. But Amazon, this is one of the reasons why I just canceled my Prime membership. But this happened last fall. I was trying to get Hannibal soundtracks, and I got a limited edition. I think it was called Tuscan Vanilla, colored vinyl of the season 3 part 1 vinyl, which is incredibly rare now. And I got one of these. It was the last one in stock at Amazon. And when I opened up the package, one, it was in a box 4 times bigger than it needed to be, so it was just rustling around loose inside of there with no padding, no air pads, nothing. Just loose in a box. When I opened this thing up, and I took pictures of it, I still have them somewhere, it looked like it just got thrown across a warehouse floor. Literally, somebody just picked it up and frisbeed it across a warehouse floor. There were scuff marks all over the plastic. The plastic was just broken in several spots, and it just had a layer of just dust and filth all over the record. And I didn't even want to open it up to see if it was actually intact, because it was just so broken down and beaten up. I'm like, this is not worth the money that I paid. Yeah. It's I paid $40 for this thing to be in brand new condition.
It cracks me up because it's there's somebody out there that is paid to do this stuff to you.
Really? I mean, I've gotten so many orders, either just completely broken in transit.
You've been assigned an Amazon worker that's strictly to
my Amazon worker is Kel from Good Burger. It's just that kind of, I got your order, dude.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Oh, so the other big one that doesn't need a whole lot of discussion, but I need to bring it up if we're talking our favorite horror TV shows or just the best in general, is Dexter. which was really big.
It was good for a few seasons for me.
Went on 8 seasons, which is pretty long for
About
a series.
Too many.
That's one that people will tell you kind of declined near the last couple seasons or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I definitely am not as critical, and I enjoyed it all the way through. I'll just say that.
I never finished it.
You never finished it?
No, I got halfway through the season before the last season. I didn't even make it to the part where he runs away to be a lumberjack.
You're very...
I will ditch a show if I feel like I just can't stand it. Like, I ditched Walking Dead after, is it safe to even give Walking Dead spoilers? Or is everyone, does anyone care anymore?
We'll say how far in the spoiler is. It's not current or anything.
I think it's 2 seasons ago, 3 or even 4 seasons back. I don't even know. It's before the Whisper War, or whatever.
So,
but yeah, I got out when a character.
You can say
Carl. Carl.
They know.
That's what killed it. That's what killed it for me. It's just like, why? It's so dumb. And then you told me about the backstory about why it happened.
Yeah, which is even worse.
It enraged me even more. Like, why would I keep watching this show now?
Yeah.
And then to hear, Rick's getting a standalone movie.
I will watch that. I'll give it a chance.
I'm just done with it.
Yeah, I get that, though,
But yeah, Dexter, I just fell off because it just wasn't as entertaining anymore. It's just like, after the sister found out thing, and then, it's just like, where does it go from here? I don't know. And then she's just like, I'm going to help you. Just like, she wouldn't do that. Her character is like, I get that they're close as family, but she's a cop. Just like, I don't think it would have worked that way. I'm not a writer. I'm not gonna be like the guy that made this show, so I can't say what they should or shouldn't have done. But it kind of killed it for me. It wasn't as immersive after that.
I think the season Walking Dead was consistently good, up to the Negan reveal. Like that season where they build up Negan without even having Negan, that was done so well. You were so, you hadn't met him.
Yeah, I was still pretty
but
invested. But
there was such a presence there. And then I would even say the season after that, where they did introduce Negan, and they were kind of stuck working for Negan and all that. Even that one was okay.
Yeah.
That next season, I don't know what happened. They were trying to please the fans or what, but they were like, we've been promising war. We need to give them war in this season. That season is awful.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I won't dwell on it because I feel like it's been said to death. There was a part where they rush Negan's base and they have guns on Negan.
I already know the part you're going to talk about, yep.
He's like counting down for Negan to surrender or do something before he's going to shoot. It's like, I'm going to shoot it when I get to 1 or whatever. And Negan's just standing out there in the open like, come on, we can talk about this, Rick. And he gets to 3 and just starts shooting. And the camera's on Rick. So it looks cool. 3, relentless. You're like, oh, God, he's going for it. Everyone's dead. I don't know if it was commercial break there or what.
Yeah, there was.
But it's saved totally by the commercial break. But he...
Yes, Negan...
Nobody gets hit.
He conveniently hid behind the commercial break, which shielded him from the bullets. And it's one of those gun sins that being a firearms enthusiast that I am, I recognize stuff like that. AKs are pretty accurate. Up to a certain amount of distance. They're not exactly sniper rifles, but it is a 7.62 round that can travel decently fast, and Rick is shooting at Negan from about not even 100 yards.
I was going to say 20 feet.
No, I mean, he was behind a little bunch of boxes, and I'll give it 50 yards. But even at that distance... with a full auto AK, he should have been able to splatter Negan against that wall in about 2 seconds.
He didn't hit any of them.
None of them.
It's
Not
like
a damn one.
He's a freaking cop.
And
he was trained to handle firearms.
No, he's demonstrated amazing accuracy in other seasons where he could hit a freaking zombie like halfway across a building with one shot from a Colt Python, which is not a very accurate handgun, by the way, to try to shoot distance with, one-handed.
It's just that plot armor's so thick that it... No, that season was... They were focusing on what looked cool instead of what was plausible.
And that's another thing that killed it for me.
Just don't put them in that situation if you don't want to kill Negan. You don't have to kill Negan, that's fine. But don't put him in a situation where Rick's got a gun pointed on him, and not only is he going to shoot at him, but he's going to shoot at him prematurely. He's going to fire before he said he was going to and catch him off guard and still not hit anyone.
Yeah, you know what would have saved this whole situation?
What?
Carol. Just send in the Carol.
That wasn't the only season that was that bad either. Don't get me started on the alley-oop scene with the vehicle with the turret in the back and Daryl and on the motorcycle, and that didn't make any sense. It was bad.
Somehow, yeah, that's drafting. That's how that works, right? Just like in race cars.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Walking Dead was good for a time. It's an ongoing joke that every once in a while at work or wherever, if it's dead silence, I'll be like, hey, remember when The Walking Dead was good? Or I'll bring up a very specific scene like, hey, remember when Rick had to kill Shane and it was really heavy character stuff?
Remember the well zombie?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's things we can look back on like it's your high school. Like kind of
Yeah.
like you remember those good times along with the bad. But really, I mean, at least with my high school career, I'm glad it's in the past. I'm glad I don't have to worry about like what's happening with it now. Yeah. I'm glad I could just go, that was a thing. If I ever wanted to revisit it, I could drive by and go like, yep, that's where I used to have good times and bad times. Right there with the gang over at the Bitey Shoot 'em Up show.
But your time is past and you're moving on.
Exactly.
I believe I already talked about the Purge show in our last podcast, didn't I?
Yeah.
We were watching that, and that one was okay. That's got I'm not going to get into it. You can watch episode 3, Quarantine. I believe that's the one that we got into it.
Yeah, that's where you were talking about it.
But that's got some premise if that continues, if there's a season 2 to that, or if that comes out. I'm interested to see where that goes. And then Haunting a Hill House.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see what they do with season 2.
That was really good. And I'm learning that was done by the person that did Oculus.
Oh, really?
And what else did they do? There was something else. But
See No Evil?
No. But you can tell they do, like they've been experimenting with transitioning between current and the past, like it almost simultaneously.
That's what I really loved about that show too.
Yeah.
The reveal, I think we might have actually talked about this already, but the reveal when you find out about the broke neck woman, that is one of the most haunting aspects of any show. Just that twist killed me.
I just love how many ghosts are hiding in plain sight in that show. It's so good.
It's worth a rewatch just to see it, yeah.
Even in the daylight.
Yeah.
Which is something you don't usually see. Daylight, everything's fine now. I love that there were ghosts that you could spot in the background and stuff, even in the daylight.
That show is got to be 2 or 3 seasons at least to get all the stories they could get out of something like that.
Yeah. And you were saying it's based off the same source material as what one?
It was the same as The Haunting.
Okay.
And it was like that. The Haunting was a kind of crappy remake that came out in like around the same time as 13 Ghosts that had Liam Neeson and a few other people in it. I don't remember exactly who all was in it, but I remember it was really underwhelming. Like, yeah. I think it's sitting at like a 5.1 or something on IMDb right now. It's a haunting movie, but it's really boring. But there's actually a 1963 movie called The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's where all this started from, and I'm not sure if it's like that one's based on a true story, or if it's like just all been written for this movie, or if there was a book first, or I'd have to delve a little bit deeper into it. We all have Google, so any of us could do that at any time we wanted to. But yeah, I got the 1963 movie, and I haven't actually watched it yet. But I'm really curious to see what kind of similarities it has with the series.
I've got like 3 Haunting of Hill House things signed at this point by cast members, and I've only seen through it once. That's how good it was.
Did they ever actually put out a Blu-ray for it?
So, I don't know if they officially did or not. The thing is, Walmart only carries DVD. I'm not buying it on DVD. I want it on Blu-ray.
For shows, yeah, they almost never do.
You can find it on eBay and stuff, but that's the thing. I don't know if it's official or if it's... I don't want to buy a bootleg copy. So
and you get the Waxworks. It's got the vinyl on the soundtrack on vinyl too.
Yeah, I need to check Best Buy is what I need to do. But I want that on Blu-ray so bad.
Yeah, I would get that one.
And it's extended. It's like marketed as having extended episodes. So I want to see it even more. So we'll see. Haunting of Hill House is wonderful. That's a newer show, so there's not a whole lot to say about it other than, you know, the one season that's out was great.
Being that it's a new enough show that one has the most probability of people having not seen it, that makes me want to not touch on it as much, but just tell people that it's also one of my favorite new ones.
Did you have any more you wanted to talk about? Any more shows? Or
Yeah, actually, just I saw the news today. There was a new show that got announced, and I don't know what to think about it. It's supposed to be a kid's show, but I don't think they're going along the right venue. Art the Clown is going to be doing no, I'm just...
Shut up. Shut up.
I had you there for a second.
Don't do that to me.
Don't give me not hope.
So is that it then? Or,
yeah, that's all I got.
I had one more, and I don't have a lot to say about it. Have you ever seen the show Slasher?
No, but I know what it is.
It's an anthology where every season's a new slasher, a new situation.
I heard it was lumped into the Scream MTV series by somebody I was talking to, so it didn't sound that appealing.
I would not compare it to the Scream TV series. Whereas the Scream TV series, I watched 2 or 3 episodes and then had to quit.
Yeah,
you told me
you had a rage boner for that show.
And I want to say that I am not somebody that usually just quits watching things. I usually watch them through. I could not do that. I don't want to sound hypocritical. I did come back and watch season 3 of it though, because it seemed like season 3 they kind of wanted to start over and they wiped the...
Season 3 could have been like season 1 if you didn't realize the other ones existed.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. And if you know anything about the Scream TV series, you know that they didn't use the Ghostface costume.
I saw the new Ghostface. I'm using heavy quotation marks right now.
You talking the movie?
No, the Scream TV series.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was maybe I saw the one from season 3, which was like the weird newish Ghostface mask thing they used.
Probably not, because Scream came out as a series and it wasn't Ghostface. It was like more human shaped and kind of like it looked dumb.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It looks super dumb.
Yeah, that's what they used. But then in season 3, they were kind of like, forget everything we've done. We're using the Ghostface costume. We're using new characters.
Like, please forgive us and come back and watch the show.
That's kind of the way that I took it, and it wasn't the best, but it was watchable. And it had Tony Todd in it.
Oh, he can save just about anything.
And it was more Scream. It wasn't movie quality, but it was more Scream.
Speaking of Tony Todd, you need to watch Candyman already.
Yeah, I know. It's on the list.
It's on the list.
It's on the list. Don't out me in front of everyone right now. So Slasher is not comparable to those first 2 seasons. It's definitely watchable. and it's an anthology, so every season's different. So much like American Horror Story, you can enjoy one and not the other.
Yeah.
The writing isn't that great, but it's also, if you just kind of want a mindless slasher, it's pretty decent.
So you're saying it's like the Big Bang Theory of horror?
No, I'm saying that if I'm willing to sit down and watch The Burning, or I'm willing to sit down and watch Sleepaway Camp, I shouldn't be too critical over slasher.
Okay. So, I'll give you that.
I think there's 3 seasons of that out. The first one is like I won't say 7. It's The Executioner. I think that's what it's called. That's what the killer wears. And then the second one is at a summer camp. I think that one might be my favorite. And then the third one was Summer Solstice. So they're all very different. So I'll give them that. And I'll probably keep checking them out as they come out. They're not going to make any top favorite series lists for me, but I'll watch them.
If it's something you got to watch, then yeah. It sounds like it could be entertaining.
But I think that's all I've got today, unless you have anything else. Any closing thoughts, anything that's on your mind?
I guess the only thing I'd want to say to everybody is just let's try to keep it together. Let's just do what we can for each other. If you see somebody is having a rough go of things right now, maybe gift them a movie. Maybe gift them your favorite movie. Maybe it's one of the ones we talked about today. Maybe it's one that we haven't heard of. Maybe it's just the thing they need to feel better. And it doesn't have to be a horror movie. It could be a comedy. Heck, if you want to gift them There's Something About Mary, maybe that'll be just the thing they need to turn things around right now and feel a little bit better.
But honestly, you can do better.
I mean, Freddy Got Fingered is out there, but just $50. It's $50 friggin' dollars for a DVD of Freddy Got Fingered right now.
I'm gonna be like, Justin, I need that back.
I never would have. If you would have told me 20 years ago that movie was gonna be worth that much one day, I would be laughing right now.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, but yeah, getting back to my point, do something nice for somebody that you know is depressed or feeling down or doesn't have a lot of friends, or just be a better person.
Or do something nice for yourself.
Do something nice for yourself. What I like to do is draw a nice hot bath, and then I put on my Art the Clown costume, and I slowly sink underneath the water until my fiance comes home.
And on that note, I hope you guys have a good time until we see you again. And you know what? Maybe catch some of our vinyl reviews or our horror movie reviews in the meantime. We ready to clock out here?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, catch us on YouTube. We do plenty of other stuff. I'm over at Danger Nips, and Jesse is over at Looking Glass Playthroughs, and we both post on the Knife Shift. So, yeah, look us up, guys.
All right. Goodbye.
Clocking out. Have a good one.
Well, I know the silence is there.
No, it's fine.
I just lose myself sometimes. I had something I wanted to say.
it's Alex Vincent, Andy Barkley from the Chucky franchise. You're listening to the Knife Shift podcast. Keep listening, or these guys will kill you.